Okay. Call to order, personal finance meeting. Do monthly budget report and check the ledger. Anything on the ledger?
I did not have anything. I reviewed this on Friday and no questions or concerns.
Okay. The budget.
Well, it's better work. Our gas has gone up dramatically. Last year, this time we only spent 15%, this year we're already at 23%.
So that's a purchase service. There's an issue on that?
No, just one,
Thank you, Administrator Brown. Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing, how about that building and maintenance of the
No, I'll.
Right, we're halfway through the fiscal year. We're at 3%.
So the other one I have, Chris, is on the, where's the one for the bus thing? We pay the gas separately on that?
No, we bills,
Oh, this one changed up, that's right.
It usually used to,
yes,
they used to go to a water for oil, and now they've got back to in-ground tank.
right.
Because the question on that was, is how they show that on our building, is it separated out or something, or is it?
Yes.
They said
It
it
is.
was wrong. Yeah.
Have you noticed a considerable discount on that? Have you noticed a considerable discount on that?
I haven't looked at the.
Okay, I'd be curious to see that our trend for purchase of gas or diesel is gone down dramatically. In fact, I just saw diesel, well, the reason I recognize it, my car's diesel. I just saw diesel for $2.49 up in Big Bend, so I'd like to see that our diesel usage numbers are half what they were last year for cost. You can get some kind of analysis
It's
there.
38 today more. Yes.
Really?
Gas is 28.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw what you did.
Of course, I don't know.
Well, it's not amazing, it's just American ingenuity. Okay, so anybody, anything else on the budget report?
Got our first sizable state aid payment in December, and then, the property taxes will start coming in this month in February, so the revenue side of things will be picking up.
All right, that case, no more discussion on that one. Preliminary discussion of 2015-16 budget.
Correct. In your packets, should have the salary scale, the teacher salary scale that's in place for this year. And then as I communicated to you, I did check with a number of surrounding districts as far as their starting salary. And then I also sent out to you the CPI, which is a chart put together by the WGSD out of Madison. And so the reason I'm bringing this to you tonight is for conversation purposes. We don't necessarily have to make a final decision tonight, but it's something you really need to be thinking about. One of the things we need to do as a district is remain competitive, especially with our starting salaries. Now, if you recall, several years ago, we were probably the bottom third starting salary-wise. We bumped it up a couple of times to 38 to be a little bit more competitive. Now you can see there are districts that are at 40 or exceeding 40. And so,
Looks like.
how do we want to approach that is the question. Do we want to give a CPI increase and matriculate that out through the rest of the salary scale? Do we just want to make a flat dollar adjustment to the salary scale to bring it up and matriculate it out that way? What you need to understand is that a teacher who has a successfully completes their professional obligations and has a successful evaluation when they move down, the average increase is about 2.5%. Okay, so moving ahead into next year's budget, the salary piece for teachers would be about a 2.5% increase as it is. And then, so ultimately, my question is do we want to add to that 2.5% for the sake of progressing towards or remaining competitive as far as the starting salary piece? My experience has been is that is what the new hires, especially newer to the profession, will look at is their starting amount. So that's something I want to talk
When
to.
you're referring to other districts, you missing some documentation or something?
That was sent out on Friday.
Sent out on
The
Friday.
update.
Hmm.
The only reason I know this, I had to work, and like I said, I left early, so I didn't bring it with me. But
What you're looking at, there was the updates you say.
wasn't it in the updates?
Yeah.
On the weekend,
There were 6 attachments there.
Yes.
print attachments.
Okay.
So I look at them and even if things change before we get here with them. Do you have any copies of something?
Not with me.
Okay.
Not that long, I think.
So what is the starting range of the average surrounding districts?
Is it 36 to 42?
Yeah, it's about 37, all the way up to 44.
Okay.
And like you said, this is just starting the conversation.
Right.
And the CPI was,
The CPI going into next school year is about 1.7, which is where it was at about a year ago, actually.
okay, so 2.5 raise is what we're looking at anyways. If
Just,
you move your adjustment.
just moving down.
Right.
Yes,
So that across the board, if everybody's doing normal, which most people will be,
right.
we're looking at 2.5, which is about 1.7 in the first place. Right?
Say that again. I can't do
2.5
that.
average, could come off probably, I think somewhere around 2.2, because not everybody will attain movement rate.
Right.
So in essence, we're gonna have about 2.2 for some of their adults. And 1.7 is the state recommendation for CPI, so we have to okay to supersede that anyways. I mean,
Not necessarily, because, see, that we don't have a collective bargaining or an organized group
Right,
for
okay.
bargaining.
Agreed, yeah. All right. I don't have a problem with 2.5. 2.5 is a pretty good raise.
Well, they were going to get that in, right.
Well, they don't get it automatically. They have to change a level.
That's true.
Let's correct that. This is not the old days of the union. You don't automatically get that. You have to actually do something to get a raise.
But through the movement that's set up in here, that would happen.
Okay.
And just so for clarification, it was part of the teachers that came up with this form
Correct.
Right.
for
The salary committee.
the public, you know.
Right.
So, yeah,
It wasn't
it's one
part of
public
this.
to know.
We accepted what the teachers came.
Yeah, we no longer have steps and lanes. We only have this. In order to attain this, they have to attain something that means they perform to the point of they should be receiving a raise for next year. Some people will not receive that raise for next year.
If they did not meet their requirements.
Right.
I would think that CPI to our starting salary and to these school days, it's also
Okay.
like you were saying regarding what they're looking at, where we're headed, and I'm okay with where we were standing in the mix of those other districts right now.
How long have we had a starting pay of about 38?
This is the first year.
You just rolled it up.
Just-
I
Yeah.
thought we rose it up last
We
year.
remember the old union decided they didn't want to pay for teachers.
Well, that was one of the
Oh,
things.
yeah, 36.
We're at 36.5.
There you go.
We did that though back in 11.
When we approved that in our last negotiation.
Yes, yes, and that's
That's how
what
it's
we
sitting in
did.
Well,
our
yeah,
negotiation.
Right,
Been
right.
approved 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it comes, I don't have an issue with that. I mean, if anything, bump the bottom up a thousand. But then you're gonna have to proportionally roll that across. Or you're just gonna bump a thousand all the way the wrong way.
That's what you have to advise them to. There's so many ways to go about it. They wanted to get in front of you now, though, for obviously planning purposes.
And we'll come back again.
Whenever.
I would have a
whenever you're ready for
I would
it.
have a problem with fixing the whole increase across the board. But if we're already talking a 2-something number, you know, I don't want to increase it that much. However, I do want to increase the lower one more, because that's what's been having issues in the past. And not by doing it in school board. So we finally got to the point where I had a 38 starting, and that sounds like it's to the midpoint of the other ones, or somewhere there about, you know, 38, 39, something like being started. What is the high school district at, 40?
This year, I thought he's in the 37. But that's actually, Dan, what triggered this whole,
Yeah.
Kathy and I were at an area admin meeting right before the holidays, and we went around the table and said, where are you starting next year? And he
Yeah.
said 39, 39.5, it means somewhere there.
Yeah.
We also had the maximum on your sheets.
I did, right.
Which I apologize for not having. So
So I would think it would behoove us to keep close to that. I don't know if we necessarily have to have the same starting point. And I do feel, and it's not a slight to anybody, I do feel that teachers at the high school are typically more advanced than a K-6 group. So much more specialization over there.
Right.
So if they start higher, it wouldn't bother me, but we don't want to get too far off, so. All right?
I guess I would prefer not to monkey with the differences from step to step on the ladder, because Mary and Denise spent a lot of time coming up with those calculations, so it's a good portion.
Be careful about that step to step. I think we brought that up.
Level.
For
Level
Levels, there we go.
Attainment level, so attainment level, because you don't automatically get any level.
No, I looked at all these,
Yeah.
but here, I mean, this was specific, but yeah.
So the only difference on this one is you don't guarantee go down to
Sure.
this level.
Right.
You have to attain
Correct.
something to get there.
Yeah.
But anyways, I would be in favor of an increase which would go across the board. So if you were at, a 38, you go 38.4 or 38.5 or something, and then just move that all the way down the route. I don't know what that number equates to.
Okay.
But in essence, you're $2,500 more per year per teacher.
Right.
So you have to look at how much money that is. Any more discussion on that right now?
The only other piece I would add, and I'm happy to hear where you're landing with increasing this, preliminary conversations about health insurance for next school year is because of the Affordable Care Act surcharges that are actually going to insurance companies, and then insurance companies pass that along to the customers. The increase of insurance rates could be sizable in contrast to what we've been able to obtain the last couple of years. So I guess the question is, do we want to adjust some things within our existing insurance program? Do we want to add more to the salary so it's not as big of a hit? Because do we want to offset that with a larger salary increase? Does that make sense to you? Okay.
When will we add?
When will you get the information?
Typically, we're on a September to August cycle with our insurance. We did that in response to the auditing recommendations we got year after year after year. And so the earliest we probably have a bid or a number back is June.
Okay, but I'm not in favor of increasing the salary to offset the insurance. What I would be in favor of is taking our surplus for the Jensen HRA and pushing it over. Because we're in excess of $250,000 right now, right? So that's gonna have to slow down anyways. Due to attrition of teachers that won't be viable for going for the HRA portions anyways, but also in the fact that we're gonna have a lot of money in there. So the question is, how much money do you think across the board it is we're looking at for a increase?
Okay. I don't have that.
I mean, it's a $70,000 increase in insurance. I think we can take that out of that and put less into the HRA.
Okay.
Being that the school board chose to put the whole amount in there right now anyways.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So the teachers still aren't going to see the hit. Now, if we see that a couple years in a row, I think the board needs to look at raising the cost of what's being paid. Because when the kids that cycle, I remember the good old days of we had 25% increases. And the school board sucked those up, so I don't think we can do that anymore.
We are one of the highest districts in the area as far as the teacher contribution level.
That's
Just so you
I
know.
agree.
So,
We're at 15%.
correct.
Most of them are at 12.
12 and a half, right?
Someone was like 8 or 9 if I recall.
Right.
So the possibility there is if we want to go to a 12 and use some of the HRA offset in order to pay for that, that's a possibility. So we have to look at the numbers, see what we do.
Okay.
Anything more on that teacher pay structure first?
No.
I've got a different thing having to do with the budget in general. I think that we need to come up with a policy for the fund balance in that when the fund balance hits a certain number, we need to say that money will automatically be deducted off the local taxpayer levy.
Okay.
I mean, mean, the issue comes down to, we get to the end of the year, and this district and other districts do it too, we just roll out the fund balance. Well, fund balance has done quite well. The issue comes down, at what point do you say that fund balance needs to stop and more run?
Okay.
So I'd like to have some kind of policy that says, we get, whatever, 40% or something on our fund balance, and no longer can we accept a rollover. If there's any rollover, that money will be put back in the local tax levy as a reduction.
You also have to look at the long-term plan, keep it with money away, like you did for the boilers and that.
Yeah.
Sort of offset that too.
That's what I was gonna
Or,
add.
we're gonna need a new truck, or, we're gonna have to start looking more. We're gonna have to, look at something on the village.
Yeah, I think to think of doing something like that, that's exactly what I was gonna say, Doug, I think, and across the board, I think Dawn said curriculum purchases. I mean, I think we really have to, kind of like what we did with the tech, and said, okay, in 5, 10 years, this is the laptops we're gonna be buying, these are the things we're gonna be buying. We should be doing that across the district.
We need,
Roofs, boilers,
we need some more long-term planning.
our next
The tech stuff
financial
is
books,
just
we
great.
need all that stuff, so that we can definitively say, okay, this is what we're gonna need the money for. Maybe instead of saying, okay, we're not gonna do the 40%, we're gonna take that X amount of dollars and we're gonna put it away for those specific purchases.
We might have X amount put away and we'll still have over 40 and then I can
Maybe
see
we
no
will,
problem
and
with
that would
that,
be-
which I think we can.
And that would be great if we did, but at least we'll
No,
know
I
if we have the
understand.
money in hand.
I understand that, you have to have some kind of plan, you're actually do something.
Yes, and that's what it is.
Just hide it away in encumbered fund balance.
No, you have to, and I'll use the village with the fire department. They always put money away so much a year for a new fire truck or a new ambulance. It was sitting there. So in 10 years, they had money there to spend for the truck. Was it enough? No, but they had some there. So like here, let's say, in 10 years, we're gonna have to replace our roofs on 2 buildings because they were built at the same time. The money's gonna be there. All of a sudden, we aren't gonna have to tell the taxpayers, well, suck it up this year. You're gonna have to pay for 2 new
Or
roofs.
that money we just gave back, well, guess what? We know we need
And I would agree with
to.
you, we need some set schedule.
Yes,
How
yes.
it's going to be used,
It's gonna take some time to settle.
Right.
And I just don't want to see it all of a sudden roll into a 60% fund balance because it's not designated for anything.
Okay.
It becomes an issue, whereas I think if it is designated, and I think that's in the budget anyways, when we push it into a designated fund balance in the budget, but you still come out at the end of the year and you've exceeded through good fiscal planning, you've exceeded what you thought you were going to spend, and you've exceeded what the savings are. I think that money needs to somehow, if it wasn't encumbered or something, needs to think about going back to people to spend it. And not get saved for 10 years until somebody thinks, well, maybe they're going to do a roof,
No,
you know?
do like we have the little long-term planning and hit a number like 40% and have it as a policy. After 40%, after putting the money away into the designated programs, it goes back to the taxpayers.
Right.
That's good.
Okay, other items.
The extracurricular pay recommendation for next school year. I spoke with Darlene about this. Darlene has a pulse on what area middle schools are paying. And so I checked with her, and she and I came up with suggested recommendations and that are highlighted for you. The blue is a 1% increase, and then like the purplish magenta is a 10% increase. And then there's just a couple of smaller increases that are in yellow. The only adjustment that I would suggest, and this is based on something that Darlene connected with me about actually this morning, is that the jazz band, ensemble, and vocal jazz pieces actually receive a 10% increase rather than the 1%, based on the amount of time and travel that the two leaders are putting into that. So, okay. That's it should be a front and back.
My question would be is, the summer music assistant director, we have a director and an assistant director.
Right.
I remember
I
that.
think I brought this up before, as how much dollars are spent versus how many students are utilizing it. You know what I mean? And are we gonna get to the point where summertime music is an elective item, where she should not be running this through maybe Susie's program? Because at this point here, we're spending quite a few thousand. The question is how many students are participating?
We had a large.
It was quite good last year.
I can't remember the numbers they gave
Yeah,
us,
I don't
but
know.
it was.
Okay.
good amount.
But then the only question is also what is there a fee for being here?
Yes.
Okay, and what's that? Do you know what the number is?
$50.
50?
Yes.
Okay. So does that offset a majority of this, do you know?
No, I just know that's what I paid.
50, okay. And that was the shirt and everything included?
No shirt. No shirt, just for lessons.
So
Which
that's-
the band does, the 4th of July parade, they prep them for that. I mean, there's things that get learned. You know, that thing that they learned in summer for me.
Right,
There was a cat per family there too.
okay. I guess that would be my other question, I guess we would go with some numbers. I'm not opposed to what I'm seeing here. I'm just saying that the amount has grown considerably.
And I think it's just because of the number of kids that are in it and the different things that they're offering.
Okay.
I thought it was really.
Okay.
I think it was last summer, actually.
Right, other than that, that would be another question. And I think you brought that one up last year, too.
We did.
Yes, we had a long discussion on this.
All right, any more discussion on that?
So this will come as an action item next week, just to foreshadow for you.
Okay. Could you send me an email, CC everybody, showing what the amount of copay is on everybody and how many, and how much it was for this last summer? For the summertime back program?
Yes. That should be easy to get because Joanne usually sends it to us anyway, so.
Okay.
yeah.
All right, any other items?
I didn't have anything else.
Okay, anybody, anything else?
I do have one request. I had sent an email talking about the morale committee, and I know we weren't going to talk about that tonight, but I guess it wasn't so much discussion about the committee itself, but I wanted to look at doing, and it kind of brought this again to my attention with what you said earlier, Doug, with forming a subcommittee to look at the handbook and things like that. I'd like us to, at some future meeting, have a discussion about putting together some sort of, teacher advisory panel or something along those lines where there was a process where teachers could vote in peers. They create a panel that when we do have issues like this, or vice versa, if they have issues they want to bring to us, they do have a group of staff members that we can say, hey, we'd like you to look at this manual, or they can say, hey, we'd like you to look at this, that we can go to that kind of represent the cross-section of the district. And I think that would be a valuable thing for us to have and utilize. I just like us to have a discussion about doing something like that.
And it used to be, before, they had the union room to go to. They don't have that anymore, so we're sort of left out in limbo, which that would not be a bad idea.
And I guess why I brought up the morale committee is because I think it was formed to talk about these types of things. I just want to look at something that maybe isn't you're in it for life type of situation. It's a rotating, again, cross-section of
Like you
teachers.
did that for the exit interview.
Yeah, things like that. Exactly. So anyway, I know it's not on the agenda for tonight, but if we could at some future point talk about that, I'd appreciate it.
Well, I think it's a really good idea, at least give somebody a voice to say something. The only thing I would caution is you have to be careful in some issues, like for example, when the union was here, people got on the union board that weren't representing a lot of people that were in the union. For example, the younger teachers were always underrepresented.
Well, and maybe put some parameters in there that, it's a 10-person panel, and two have to be, three have to have been here 2 years to 3 years, and the rest could be any. You can look at it, you can slice it up any number of ways, but end result is they have a voice, and then we also have people we can.
And your cross-section.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. From different disciplines and things like that would be great.
Just like similar to what I went 6 years ago.
Right.
Okay, would you like to put that as a topic to discuss or something?
We could,
in the
that
next
would be
one?
great.
Should we do that next one?
Next month?
Yeah, that's fine.
Which committee?
I was thinking,
That's right, personnel.
yes.
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
But I think that there should be other committees also formed, but I think what you have to do is you also have to give a direct justification of what this committee does and when it should meet and when it should come back to the board.
Sure.
So it doesn't get lost in,
And even
A
if it's
directive, basically.
yeah,
And even if it's a thing like in this instance where they met with us once a quarter or twice a year, or,
Yeah.
they can come in and sit down with us at a committee meeting and voice some concerns or whatever it may be.
yeah, and it might be a spinoff of that committee for this and
Sure. But at least it's not every time something like this comes up, it's, I don't want to say confusion, but it's, okay, well, how are we going to do it? And everybody's, it's kind of set. thing that's in place.
We're not just dictating policy, they have interest in it, that they're actually giving us feedback.
And it's in place where when you bring up something like that, they can already be working on it tomorrow because there's a process in place and there's something established versus taking the time out to figure out how we're gonna do it.
Yeah,
On the ground. All right, great.
Any other? Anybody else? No? Okay. I thought you also brought up, and I didn't see it on tonight's on PNC, I thought we were going to discuss videotaping and sound recording.
I did, but I think there's.
Okay.
I was going today, and like I had to leave work, I was also going to get a legal opinion on that and share with you at the next committee
Well, we've
meeting.
already got legal.
Going to-
Well, we got, that was a different law firm.
Not too much different. Lawyers are always going to be lawyers. They're going to say, don't do something because maybe you'll get sued for it. I mean, that's what I'm
Policy.
I would recommend that we talk about this at PNC and come up with a policy of doing it.
I have no problem.
That's what I want to do.
All right.
The only thing we have to look at though is where we're going to store it, which is more for tech than,
Yeah.
Well, I think if we determine we are going to do it in PNC and policy,
Yeah.
that Pat can take over and determine how we're going to do it.
and then we'll get the legal opinion too, just so we can, then you can go from there. Because I know other districts do, I know we can turn on Time Warner and I can see is it mosquitoes.
Right. Well, it makes all the sense in the world. It's already being done. There's no reason we shouldn't control our own destiny with it.
Okay. So then we have a PNF next month.
That's responsibility.
Something to do with fund balance limit.
Even though you do a great job with that, we appreciate it.
Also, to do with forming committee, teacher representation committee. And I think it was it for that. And then PNC, if you guys want to put that there, it'd be great. I'll leave that with you guys. Anybody, anything else on PNF? Hearing none, motion to adjourn? That's right. Thank you.
Not a problem. I'll keep
Good
it
keep
there.
it. All right, sounds good. We're adjourned.
Who's seconded?
Go on.
Dawn.
Second.